What resources or templates would you recommend using for reaching out to law firms without openings? What is the best way to reach out? Okay, so this is actually a very good question, and I will answer it. I don't know what the percentage is now, but years ago, I looked at these percentages and it was something crazy. It was like 85% of candidates, and this is crazy. And so, this statistic I'm sharing with you, by the way, should blow you away. So, this is something that, again, this is, if you learn this right now, it's going to change the course of your freaking career. And no one even understands this, but I do because I've worked with tens of thousands of attorneys and there's no one else does what I do this and it freaks people out, all sorts of things. So 85% of candidates that BCG, now in the past, I haven't looked at this in the past few years. So I'm not going to say it's 85 now. It might be lower, but in the past that have gotten positions with us. And this statistic should blow you away. It's incredible with us. Now, again, I'm not saying this is a current, but I'm sure it's a lot. It's probably still way over 50% have have gotten positions with firms that don't have open. Now, so this statistic should blow you away, but I want to preface this with a couple of different statements because I want to make sure you understand why this is. So certain firms always interview people through BCG, or firms interview lots of candidates in different practice areas, regardless if they have an opening. So we're using historical information. We're using not AI because we're using different machine learning and algorithms and things. So this is our statistics. I'm not saying these are very high because of things that we're doing to make these decisions about where to tell people. But, and then here's the other thing is 75% of candidates, when we send them lists of firms to approve, get freaked out. So they think that we're spamming them or something. List of firms get freaked out. So meaning they think there's something wrong with this. Why would we be sending them these firms? We do it because we know the places that are likely to interview them without openings. But I also do it because I know that's where people are likely to get jobs. Because here's the kicker, and I want to make sure everyone understands this because this is incredibly freaking important. Maybe one of the most important job search things you hear in your entire career. And I want to make sure everyone understands this. Firms without openings. Now, large firms, by the way, I'm talking more about small to mid-sized firms. Big firms in big cities are run like machines and they know exactly what they need and they often are inflexible. But firms without openings, if they receive your application, and again, large firms in hot markets and hot practice areas, this is the case. But if you apply to a firm without openings, apply to a firm without formal openings, you are the only applicant, right? So you're the only applicant. So if you're the only applicant, that the firm, no one to compare you to, right? No one to compare you to, easy to hire because no one applies to firms like that. It's easy. They obviously you're interested in them. You know about them. You're not applying just because there's a job. What this no one to compare you with, this means no competition. For example, if I post an opening for in-house counsel at BCG, what's going to happen? Within a few minutes, I'm going to suddenly get, and this is just because this is the kind of competition, there's a lot of in-house jobs. I'll start getting by the end of day two, I may have 200 applications or something. So what am I going to do? How am I going to make any sense of all this? Well, I guess I could put them all in a pile and sort them by school. But this is what employers face. So if you're applying to an employer with a job, what are your odds? But if you're applying for a firm that doesn't have an opening, there's no competition. You're the only applicant and you're proactively showing that you like the firm or the position. So that's great. You like the firm. So firms that receive applicants like this are like, that's awesome. They love it. And you're much more likely to get a job. Again, these statistics at BCG are artificially high because if there's 300 firms in Milwaukee. Like we know like the 10 or 15 that always interview like corporate attorneys or patent attorneys, like even without jobs. So we send them those. And so that's one reason working with a good recruiter could change your life. But it's also, and again, I'm not trying to, but at the same time, but you can do that on your own. You just won't have as be as accurate. But what's funny is when I send candidates these list of firms, they think, oh, this is crazy. This recruiter is sending me all these firms. I'm going to stop responding to their texts and emails and block. This is how people think. But honestly, this is the most effective way to get a position. There are so many freaking attorneys in every practice area all over the country that you could potentially go work for it. It's ludicrous. So if you, I'll just show you this example. So let's Google, um, and we'll look at, let's see, let's just take an example. What trust and estates attorneys, if you want to do trust and estates attorneys in, let's pick something random in Santa Fe, New Mexico, right? Santa Fe, New Mexico. So no one, by the way, is going to apply to these freaking people. There are tons of them. So look at this. So here we go. Walk-in wills, Robert, all these places. They just go on for pages and pages. Look at this. Next. It's just, come on, just look at this. It's insane. If you want to work, there are so many attorneys out there that in law firms that no one's applying to, that if you apply to them, you have a great opportunity to get a position. All you need to do is apply and do a search on Google for whatever job you're trying to get or firm you're trying to work in. And by the way, these kind of particular searches, which I think are freaking awesome, are hugely effective. Let me just fix something here. I'm going to fix so I can show this. Anyway, this particular search, look, $2.2 million, or anyway, I'll just show this. But the point is that if you apply to firms without openings, you are going to have a massive opportunity to get positions that no one does. I've seen this with myself. An example would be, I used to, up till a couple of years ago, I had a law firm. Now, I didn't have a law firm where I was representing people. I had a law firm that was representing my companies and things that we were involved in, whatever, not serious things, but if someone owed us money or was using our trademark or whatever, we would this law firm. But the point is that in the entire history of having this law firm, which was years and years, I only had a couple people, I can remember them, walk in, or the ones that walked in were the most effective, but send their resume out of the blue saying, hey, do you have any opportunities? And the ones that did would all get jobs. I'll tell you a quick story that blows my mind. I just want to tell you because I want to give you an example of how frickin' effective this is. So I used to have a company called Legal Authority, which you can see online. You can go to Legal Authority right now. And Legal Authority would basically, you could call Legal Authority and say that you'd fill out a form and you'd say, hey, I want to work at, and this company, the website's still up, where it's not, where no one's working on it at the moment and hasn't been for years. But you go to this company and say, you could be, and I'll tell you a quick story. There was a couple guys that were friends that went to Thomas Cooley Law School, which I guess is now called, I don't know what it's called, but it's something else. But for whatever reason, it's not a highly ranked law school. As a matter of fact, I think at the time it was one of the 10 worst in the country or something. I don't know. And again, nothing against people that go to Thomas Cooley, but there a couple of guys from there one day visited my office. One of them brought their father and was like, we can't thank you enough. We got these great jobs with entertainment law firms. And the dad was like, yeah, thank you so much. We can't believe what a great job you did. All Legal Authority would do is if you said, I want to be any type of attorney in any city, we would just search our database. And if you want to be an entertainment attorney in LA, we'd search, and then we'd find 200 law firms doing it. And then we would, at that time, we would print out letters and everything and send it to the people, and they would send it out to all these firms saying they want to be an entertainment attorney. We would do their resume and cover it. But the point of this whole thing is that getting an entertainment job in LA, if you're a attorney at Morrison and Forrester or Melviny or one of these big for Gibson Dunn, it's extremely difficult. It's beyond difficult. It's possible, but it's pretty freaking hard because everybody wants to do entertainment law. It doesn't matter if you went to Harvard, whatever. But these guys that went to this worst law school, one of the worst law schools in the country, as law students were getting entertainment jobs using this service. It works. If you apply, it's the point I'm making is this company was getting so many people jobs that it was ridiculous. So many people were getting positions of a legal authority. It just blew my mind. And all they were doing was mass mailing their resume and with letters instead of sending, what do you call it, emails. And so it works. If you apply to places without openings, you're going to do well. Now, there is something now called BCG does, which is called, what's it called? Reverse. And I'm sorry to give such a long drawn out answer to that. BCG and search. So what is this called? BCG. And essentially, this is the same thing. This is reverse recruiting, which is basically a similar type service, but it's a little more high end because unfortunately the legal authority as a low end service was a difficult company to operate from both a profitability and a customer service perspective. But yeah, reverse recruiting is something that we do. But here's one other thing that I would recommend. And again, I'm not trying to plug my companies and things here, but I am trying to present my job search offerings. So anytime you use LinkedIn or what else, Indeed for jobs, everyone in the everyone out there, every single person with an internet connection, single attorney with an internet connection is applying to those jobs. So what does that mean? That means that you stand very little chance of getting those jobs because, first of all, the employer may not even see your resume because there's so many freaking people applying to those jobs. And the second thing is you don't stand a good chance of getting those positions because you're going to be competing with a huge number of people. Just think of how many law students and how many new attorneys are looking for jobs. So that's the problem. So I do have a company that does this and helps people other than this reverse recruiting. It's called LawCrossing, which you probably have heard of, but all LawCrossing does, it's a little different. The site goes and looks at every law firm website. Oh, by the way, to get on Indeed or LinkedIn for jobs, employers need to pay. So that means that. But LawCrossing basically visits every law firm we can find, and every government office, all that, every government in-house, whatever, and then takes those jobs and posts them on its site. And those jobs, the majority of these are not advertised. So that's all. So you stand a better chance if a law firm has a job somewhere or a company that's not advertised because if some municipality puts or government office or law firm and whatever in a small or mid-sized law firm or even a large law firm doesn't advertise its jobs, but the job has a job and it's not advertised, you stand a much better chance. I don't want to get too far into it, but that's the whole point of these. I'm not trying to tell you that you should do it. The site works. I'm not going to say you'll get a job because that's ridiculous. But I think if you find positions like on legal authority day, which you can do with reverse recruiting now, but it's expensive. So I don't even want to talk about it really, but it's there. But if you use something like LawCrossing, which is very expensive, that you can find jobs that aren't advertised. If you do mass mailing on your own, or you just search the internet and find a list of firms doing your practice area and apply, you're going to get more jobs. So the whole idea is if you're looking for a job, and I'm sorry again to talk so much about this, but this is passion. I have businesses doing it. But if you look for a job, if you're trying to get a position and there's no competition, what the hell? You're going to have 10 times a better chance. You're also going to look like you're interested in the employer when other people aren't necessarily doing that. So I hope that helps.